Hey everyone, it's Kenji. We're gonna make a blueberry upside down cake. So this recipe is actually very loosely modified, slightly modified from my friend Stella Parks's blueberry upside down muffin recipe, which you can find on Serious Eats. So basically we're gonna bake it in a cast iron skillet here. Let me turn on this light. It is a really easy cake to make if you've got a lot of blueberries, which we just went blueberry picking last week, so we do. So we're gonna start by lining this. Here's how you line a round thing with parchment paper. This is a sheet of parchment paper. I'm gonna fold it in half that way. Fold it in half again this way. Okay. And then I'm gonna fold it into a triangle like that. Okay. And then again, another triangle. And finally, one more triangle. Okay, so now I've got this very thin wedge here. Now all I gotta do is find the center of that pan. It's right around there. Bring this out to where I want it to go to. Make a little crease. And then cut. Okay, and then when I unfold this, I've got a piece of parchment paper that fits on the bottom of the pan. This is a great way, by the way, if you have like, if you're simmering something in a wok, for example, and you want to put a lid on it. So there's these Japanese things called tashi bushi, shoot, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but these lids that you can buy that expand to the size of whatever level of the wok you're at. But if you don't have that, you can use a piece of parchment paper. Just cut it to whatever size you want. It'll work on a pot also. All right, so we have that set. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. Here I have a stick and a half of butter that I'm going to melt in the microwave. A stick and a half, that would be a quarter pound plus an eighth of a pound, so 3/8 of a pound, which is in grams, some amount. What is it? Let me look up Stella's recipe. Actually, I have it open. So 170 grams, that's what you're looking for. All right, so for the flour, 340 grams of flour, which I think is about 2 1/3 cups. I'll post the recipe down below, or a link to Stella's original recipe, and you can just modify it the way I'm doing it if you prefer to do it my sort of slightly easier way. 340 grams of flour. I'm going to do about 140 grams of sugar. Okay. And then I'm going to do the zest of a lemon. In her recipe, she calls for a little bit of cardamom, where's it, coriander, and nutmeg, but I usually just omit those. Not because they're not delicious, but just because I'm lazy, and I think lemon and blueberry have enough flavor on their own. Okay. A couple teaspoons baking powder. 1, 2. Oops, make up for that bit I just dropped. How's that butter doing? Melted, good. And then about a 1/4 teaspoon baking soda. I just eyeball it. All right. And we're doing this the real simple one bowl way. If you want to do it Stella's original way, which I do recommend because she knows what she's doing, you would take the cubes of butter and break them into here as if you're making sort of a pie crust or something like that, or a biscuit. And then you would add the remaining ingredients, but I like to do this the super quick and easy way. It's marginally less tender and moist when you do it this way, but a lot easier. And usually, you know, when you've got a couple kids in the house, the easier way is good enough. All right. Oops, where did I put my scale? Yeah, still need my scale. All right, so for milk, I'm gonna do 140 grams of milk also. It's about 5 ounces if you're measuring in a cup. Left a little bit over, that's right. A couple teaspoons of vanilla extract. This is artificial vanilla, which works fine for a recipe like this. Big pinch of salt. And finally, that melted butter. All right. I'm just going to mix this all up together. Break those egg yolks. And the key here, as with any cake, is that you don't want to overmix it. You don't need to like whip the crap out of this batter. You just want it to come together and be relatively homogeneous, but it doesn't have to be completely smooth or anything like that. As long as there's no sort of streaks of flour or streaks of egg in there, you're in pretty good shape. All right, that's it. All right, so now I'm gonna take my blueberries. I'm gonna toss them with some sugar. About a quarter cup, maybe a little more. Actually, let me get those into a bigger bowl so I can toss more effectively. I don't know how many blueberries this is. We picked a bunch. This is I think like 1.5 quarts of blueberries. I don't know how much that is in weight, but you can see it's about this many blueberries. Honestly, the amount of blueberries you use is not really that relevant. Because it all ends up as a sort of layer on the top of the cake, which you'll see. So the more you use, sort of the more juicy and blueberry-y the cake will be. And the less you use, the thinner that layer of blueberries will be. All right, so I got my lemon juice and my sugar here. I'll give it all a toss. You can use frozen blueberries for this, by the way. I have done this with frozen blueberries. Just let them thaw before you start working with them. Okay, let's get our pan. And that parchment, really all it's going to do is help the cake come out a little bit more easily later. You'll see. All right, get all our blueberries in there. Nice even layer. And then I'm going to get this batter on top. You want to try and sort of spread it around so you get a relatively even layer to start with. You can do this, by the way, in a pie plate as well. This is a 10-inch cast iron skillet. You can do it in a 10-inch pie pan. Or even a smaller pie pan, as long as you sort of, if you do it in a smaller pie pan, it ends up being taller, like a 9-inch. It'll end up being, cake pan, round cake pan. It'll end up being a little bit taller. So of course you want to lower the heat of the oven by about 25 degrees and let it cook for a little bit longer, maybe an extra 10 minutes or 15 minutes to make sure that it cooks evenly without, all the way through without burning on the top. All right. All right, so there's our cake. 350-degree oven, preheated. It's going to go in there until it's nice and puffy, about 45 minutes. So I will see you in 45 minutes or so. Actually, I honestly have no idea, but I'm sure someone will look at the clock and tell me. But I wasn't paying attention. I was busy cooking other stuff. But essentially, it doesn't really matter. The timing is not important. What matters is that you want it to look like this, kind of puffy, right? And golden brown, just like that. And so now I'm just going to take a thin spatula. You can use a knife and just run it around the edge like that. Make sure it's loose. Okay. And then here comes the fun part. I'm going to put this cutting board on top and actually, you know what? I'm going to do it with a plate. The last time I did this with a cutting board, all the blueberry juices got everywhere. All right, so I'll put a big plate on top. Okay. And then 1, 2, 3. Ooh. There we go. Now, how does that look? Wow, looks good to me. We can let it cool, but I'm just going to cut out a piece immediately and see how it tastes. And the rest, I've got guests coming over tonight, so the rest I'll serve kind of at room temperature. I'll just let this sit in the kitchen until dinner time tonight. Shall we cut out a little wedge and see where we're at? Super juicy. Oop, we're at still a little raw. Of course, what we can always do is change our minds. What I should have done is test it with a cake tester. This is why I'm not a pastry chef. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Oop. You go back in there for another 20 minutes or so, I'd say. 15 minutes. All right, I'm back. I don't know how long that was. I think I left it in the oven for about another 20 minutes. And then my family came down, we had lunch and everything. So this rested actually a little bit out of the oven as well. You can see there's some scar tissue, but after baking it another 20 minutes, this time I did it the smart way, which was use a cake tester, you poke it through, you pull it out. If it comes out clean, that's what you're looking for. So, of course, now that I said that, it's still going to be goopy in the center when I turn it over, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, scar tissue. We'll see how this works. I think it'll come out just fine. Maybe even better than it first was. Okay, let's see. Ready? 1, 2, 3, flip. Ooh. That is looking good now. Let's get some of that blueberry goop back in. Okay. All right. Now let's see how it looks this time. Are we cooked all the way through? It certainly felt like it was cooked through this time. And it looks more like it normally does. So I'm quite hopeful. Got a little wedge. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. There we go. Blueberry upside down muffin or upside down cake. Hot and delicious. Yeah, you want to try some? Here. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. Here you go. All right. So there you go. This is like one of the the desserts I make most frequently because it's so easy and kind of impressive looking and also delicious. Blueberry upside down cake. Guys, gals, non-binary pals, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.